I was working overtime for the 5th weekend straight when my team lead barked, "If you want to be a leader, stop whining and start sacrificing like a man." He laughed and threw a report across my desk. I quietly picked it up, walked to the printer, and filed a formal hours discrepancy report. 2 months later, he was screaming across the office, "You set me up. You knew what would happen." I just looked at him and said, "You taught me everything I know." I don't really know what broke in me that day. Maybe it was the 5th weekend in a row of being in the office while everyone else in the city was out enjoying their life. Maybe it was the fact that I hadn't seen the inside of a restaurant, or even my own damn kitchen table in over a month. Or maybe it was Craig Vernon himself, standing over my desk, smirking like he owned me. "You want to be a leader?" he barked. "Then stop whining and start sacrificing like a man." Then he laughed. Not even a fake laugh. A full chest-rattling laugh like he just made a killer joke. And after that he tossed a thick packet across my desk. Barely missed knocking over my coffee. I didn't say anything. I didn't flinch. I just picked up the report, turned around and walked to the printer. Not to print the report, no. I printed something else. I opened the HR portal and printed the company's official overtime discrepancy form. Then I walked straight to the filing cabinet, slid it in the internal mail slot, and walked back to my desk like nothing happened. No speech. No eye contact. Just silence. That was the first shot fired. Let me back up a little. I started working for Jet River Logistics in Cincinnati right after college. I was 22, bright-eyed, ready to work hard and climb the ladder. The place was intense but manageable in the beginning. My old manager Marcus was fair, tough but reasonable. I put in extra hours here and there and he noticed. Then Marcus quit out of nowhere and Craig took over. Craig was the kind of guy who'd call you into a meeting just to yell at you about a typo. He once berated a guy on speakerphone during a team call because he'd forgotten to update a cell in an Excel sheet. The guy had just gotten back from his mom's funeral. Craig didn't care. At first I thought, maybe this is what it takes to get promoted. I worked hard. Harder than I ever had in my life. I stayed late. I came in early. I picked up slack when others left for the day. I never said no. Then it got worse. Around late spring, Craig started pushing us harder. "The company's trimming fat," he said. "Only the top dogs stay." We all got the message. Over-deliver or be replaced. So I stayed. 5 weekends in a row. That's how long I worked without a single full day off. My apartment became a place to shower and sleep for a few hours. My fridge was full of expired food I never had time to cook. My girlfriend dumped me halfway through weekend 2. "You're a ghost," she said. "This job is chewing you up." I nodded. What was I gonna say? She wasn't wrong. That 5th weekend, when Craig threw the report across my desk and laughed at me like I was a joke, I snapped. Not visibly. I just went cold inside. Like a switch flipped. That's when I started documenting everything. I went back through my emails and calendar invites. I created a spreadsheet of every weekend I worked, every hour past 6 p.m., every lunch break I skipped, every time Craig asked me to hop on a quick call. That lasted 90 minutes. Then I started fresh. Every week I kept a detailed log of hours. I saved every message. When Craig snapped at me on Slack, I exported the chat. When he called me into his office and raised his voice, I wrote a summary the moment I got back to my desk. When he emailed me to wrap up that new report before Monday morning, I saved it, especially if it came on a Saturday night. I didn't tell anyone at first, but then I started asking questions. Casual, subtle. I asked Janine in finance, "Hey, do salaried employees get time back if we go past 50 hours a week? Like officially?" She looked at me and blinked. "No one logs that stuff." "They should." That's all I said. After 3 weeks, I had over 80 hours of unpaid time logged. Some of it could be justified. Most of it? Not a chance. One Friday, I asked Janine again if she knew anything about formal time tracking. She paused. "Why? You filing a claim?" I looked her in the eyes. "I already did." Her face changed. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she told me she'd been working there for over a decade and had never heard of anyone doing that. I pulled up the internal policy on my screen and showed her the paragraph that mentioned excessive, Sustained overtime by salaried employees must be evaluated for compensation or compliance breach. Can I show you something? I asked. She nodded. I handed her a folder with everything. My time logs, emails, voice memos. I even had 2 recordings of Craig screaming during team meetings. Pure rage because someone asked for an extension. She flipped through the folder slowly. I know someone in internal compliance, she finally said. You didn't hear that from me. It all started moving quickly after that. Janine helped me dig deeper. She pulled access reports from HR logs. She found out how often Craig changed reporting spreadsheets to hide extra hours logged by the team. He'd been manually altering the reports to make it look like we were padding time. It was fraud, plain and simple. We didn't confront him. We didn't tell anyone. Instead, I filed another discrepancy report every week. Quietly. With attachments. Timestamped. Backed up on my home drive. Just in case. Then, I submitted one final report, anonymously, to corporate HR. But I also CC'd internal compliance. Then we waited. Almost a month later, I showed up on a Monday to find a sign taped to the elevator. Access restricted. Compliance review in progress. Craig looked rattled. First time I'd ever seen him anything less than cocky. He joked about it being a routine audit. Nobody laughed. 2 days later, he was called into a meeting. When he came back, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. Face pale, eyes darting around the office. Then he stormed toward me. You set me up, he shouted loud enough for everyone to hear. You knew what this would do to me. I stood up slowly. Calm. You taught me everything I know, I said. Just like that. The office was silent. Craig kept yelling until security showed up. They walked him out while he screamed about betrayal and loyalty. After Craig was escorted out, people kept their heads down. No one talked about it openly, but the tension was thick. HR didn't send an email. No memo. Just silence. But people noticed. His office stayed locked. His name vanished from internal emails. And every time someone asked what happened, they got the same line. That's a matter for corporate. But it didn't stop there. 2 weeks after Craig was gone, I was called into a meeting with someone I'd never seen before. Her name was Carol Hughes. She said she was from Corporate Compliance Oversight, which I didn't even know was a real department. She sat me down in a small glass-walled room, handed me a folder, and said, "We're conducting a deeper investigation into management irregularities." I didn't know what to say. She opened the folder and pulled out a report with my name on it. "You've been submitting discrepancy claims for 8 weeks straight," she said. "We want to know what you know. Everything." I asked if I needed a lawyer. She smiled, polite but cold. "This isn't an accusation. We believe your information may support a wider pattern." That's when I found out. Craig wasn't the only one. Turns out Craig was just one piece in a bigger mess. Carol told me, not officially, just between us, that several team leads across Jet Rivers, Ohio offices had been cooking hours. For years. Cutting OT from junior staff, faking logs, reclassifying full-time employees as contractors on spreadsheets just to make numbers look better. It made profit margins look amazing on paper. It also cheated dozens, maybe hundreds, of employees out of time, money, and promotions. My reports had triggered something big. A domino effect. By week 10, 2 more team leads had been put on administrative review. I didn't even know them, but I recognized the look on their faces when they were walked out. Same panic Craig had. People started looking at me differently after that. Some kept their distance. A few whispered, "Are you the one who did it?" Others came up to me quietly late in the day and said things like, "Hey, thanks. I never had the guts to say anything." Or, "I used to cry in my car before coming in. That guy destroyed people." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt numb most days. Still tired. Still angry. But then came the real twist. Janine called me on a Saturday. "You sitting down?" she asked. "Sure," I said, already anxious. "They're turning it around on you." "What?" "Someone leaked part of the report. Craig's trying to frame it like you were falsifying hours. Says you created a paper trail to sabotage him." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. Apparently Craig had some connections left. A buddy in middle management forwarded a half-redacted memo around, suggesting I'd manipulated documentation to paint a false narrative. Nothing confirmed, just whispers, but enough to make people question. You need to cover your ass, Janine said. They're scared. And scared people twist things. That night I went back through everything. I triple-checked every file. I re-downloaded email logs. I backed up my recordings to a cloud server and 2 USBs. I even printed out my logs with timestamps and made physical copies, just in case someone tried to delete anything off the company drive. Then I wrote a memo of my own. Not to HR. Not to corporate. To legal. I attached everything. Subject line: timeline of documented work irregularities, protection of whistleblower rights. I sent it to 3 addresses: Jetrivers General Counsel, HR Legal Rep, and Internal Compliance. It wasn't emotional. Just facts. Dates, names, files, timestamps. The memo was 19 pages long. I made sure they understood that if anything mysteriously disappeared, I had backups. I didn't hear back for 4 days. Then Carol called again. You're safe, she said. Someone tried to redirect the narrative. It failed. What happens now? We're launching an internal review of your entire department. And Craig. She paused. He's escalating. He got a lawyer. Sent a complaint to the board claiming retaliation and character defamation. He says you slandered him. Did I? She chuckled once, bitter. No. You documented him. But I knew Craig wouldn't stop. Not the kind of man he was. 3 days later, I came outside after work and found my car keyed. Deep, angry lines down both sides. Windshield cracked. A note under the wiper. You'll regret this. I took a photo. Filed a police report. HR asked if I had any proof it was Craig. I didn't. So I did the next best thing. I hired a lawyer. The lawyer I hired wasn't flashy. His name was Ted Kinley. Mid-50s. Used to work labor law cases for steelworkers back in the day. I found him through Janine's brother, who'd gone through a whistleblower case himself years ago. We met in a diner out near Norwood, where nobody from the office would see us. He brought a yellow legal pad and a tiny tape recorder. No laptop, no nonsense. After I told him everything, he sat back, tapped his pen once, and said, They're scared of you. That's why you're getting heat. Scared? Kid, you got evidence that can tank their bonuses. That's blood in the water. I showed him the photos of my car. The note. The logs. The reports I'd saved in triplicate. He flipped through it all page by page. You did this right. You didn't panic. You kept records. If they try to fire you, we go scorched earth. That's when he asked the question I'd been avoiding. Do you want to sue? I didn't answer right away. I didn't want money. I wanted the truth out. I wanted Craig exposed. I wanted the people who protected him, who knew what he was doing and let it slide, to feel it. I don't want a payout, I finally said. I want them to clean house. Ted smiled like a man who'd heard that line before. Then we'll keep the pressure on. The next week things got weirder. First, I was randomly selected for a performance review. Middle of the quarter. No warning. My new manager, Jared, looked uncomfortable even bringing it up. Sorry man, this wasn't my call. He pulled up a form with vague comments like, lacks team spirit and potential attitude concerns. I laughed. Not a real laugh. Just that dry, half-cynical sound you make when you see the knife coming before it hits. Who submitted this? I asked. Anonymous feedback, he said, not meeting my eyes. Janine told me later that Craig still had access to the internal portal from his personal device. He shouldn't have, but apparently IT never fully locked him out. Ted fired off a letter the next day, citing retaliation. By the end of the week, my review was canceled and my security badge was updated with a red tag, meaning officially protected status under whistleblower policy. But the damage was already spreading. Someone started a whisper campaign around the office. He only did it to get a promotion. He faked his logs. He's gunning for severance. Every day, fewer people looked me in the eye. Some avoided me altogether. Others acted overly polite, like I had a wire on me. One guy from sales, a total stranger, walked up to me by the vending machines and said, You know they'll never promote you now, right? I looked at him. Was that supposed to scare me? He walked off without another word. Then came the next twist. Janine was let go. No warning. No write-up. They told her her position had been dissolved due to restructuring. The same week she submitted a report backing up my hours. She called me that night crying. Not loud sobs, just that quiet, broken kind of cry you can only get out in the dark. I should have just kept my head down. No, I said. You did the right thing. They're going to come after you harder. I know. I told Ted about it. He got angry. Actually angry, which was rare for him. They just made a big mistake, he said. Firing her looks like punishment. We use that. He started drafting a formal complaint to the Department of Labor. This time, it wasn't just about overtime. It was about retaliation, wrongful termination, whistleblower intimidation. I gave him everything. Full access to all my documentation. He started building a timeline, names, emails, policy violations, and when each one happened. 2 days later, someone tried to delete my shared drive. Not just mine. The whole project folder my team had used for the last year was accidentally wiped during a routine system update. But I'd been ready. I had copies. I'd made backups onto 3 separate hard drives and 2 cloud accounts under different names. Ted sent the recovery logs to compliance and told them flat out, if you don't launch a forensic audit, we will. That was the final straw for corporate. A week later, they sent in an external audit team. Full suits, clipboards, confidential interviews. IT froze user access across departments and sent out an all-company notice about data protection protocols. People panicked. I watched someone shred 3 stacks of paper and walk out early without logging off. The next day, Jared, my manager, the one who tried to stay neutral, was put on leave. He texted me that night. I didn't know how deep it went. I'm sorry. Watch your back. That's when I realized. Craig wasn't working alone. There were others. After the audit team arrived, it was like someone kicked a hornet's nest. People were scrambling. Nobody trusted anyone. Every day someone else worked from home. Then never came back. Directors stopped showing up for meetings. Whole departments froze. And Craig? Oh, he was just getting started with his meltdown. Through Ted, we found out Craig had hired a lawyer who used to work PR cases for disgraced city officials. He wasn't just denying everything. He was claiming victimhood, saying he was targeted by jealous underlings, that the company was trying to erase him to protect corporate leadership, and that I somehow had forged documents to bring down a good man. He even filed a wrongful termination lawsuit that blew up in his face. The forensic audit team wasn't just there to poke around. They were tearing through everything. They recovered emails Craig thought he deleted. Slack messages from a private group chat between Craig and 2 other managers, joking about milking the new guy's weekends and calling me the doormat. They found altered spreadsheets, fake timestamps, and even emails where Craig directly instructed Janine's termination for being too nosy. They found financial fraud, too. Turns out, Craig had been submitting fake travel expenses for years. Thousands of dollars billed to the company for hotel stays he never took, conferences he never attended. All signed off by 2 other higher-ups. They were both quietly fired within days. Craig's wrongful termination claim was dropped once the audit findings hit his lawyer. Then came the real hammer. One afternoon, I was called back into that same glass-walled room, only this time, Carol from compliance wasn't alone. With her were 2 other people. One from legal, the other from the Department of Labor. They handed me a paper. It wasn't bad. It was confirmation. I was officially recognized as a protected whistleblower, and because of the depth of the abuse I uncovered, the company was offering a settlement, not to silence me, but to support me as part of their public remediation. It wasn't just money. They wanted me to take a role on a new internal task force, employee ethics and compliance oversight, reporting directly to the executive board. I said no. They asked why. I told them the truth. I don't trust any of you. The story hit the local news 2 weeks later. Not by me, by someone else. A laid-off admin assistant leaked internal memos to a journalist at the Cincinnati Record. The headline read, Corporate giant Jet River accused of silencing whistleblowers, abusing employees. Craig's name was right in the first paragraph. So was mine. So was Janine's. I thought I'd feel nervous seeing it out there. Instead, I felt calm. Janine called me that night. She laughed for the first time in weeks. You see the part where they called Craig's behavior a culture of toxic exploitation? Yeah. That was your phrase, right? From your memo. Word for word. We stayed on the phone for almost an hour. Within a month, Craig's world completely collapsed. His lawsuit failed. His severance was gone. The fraud reports were handed to the state attorney general. He was now under criminal investigation. Even better, his LinkedIn page became a graveyard. Every company he applied to got a nice anonymous email with screenshots of his behavior. The private Slack messages. The audit report. The local news article. I didn't send them, but someone did. Janine probably had help. He applied to a small logistics firm in Dayton. Got an interview. Was spotted pacing in the parking lot in a cheap suit. Then was asked to leave when the office manager recognized his name. Last I heard, he was driving for a third-party courier company. Night shifts. No benefits. He sent a LinkedIn post a month later. Be careful who you trust. Some people will destroy your life just to feel important. It got 3 likes and a comment. Maybe don't commit fraud next time. As for me, I took the money. Not a lot, but enough. I didn't join the task force, but I agreed to speak at a town hall meeting for Jet River's new transparency initiative. I wore a gray button-down and told the truth to a room full of suits who could barely look me in the eye. I said, we all watched it happen. We all knew it was wrong. The only difference is I wrote it down. After that I left. New job. Smaller company. I work 8 to 4 now. I have weekends again. I eat dinner at home. I sleep. Janine? She's got a new role in a healthcare firm's compliance office. They treat her like royalty. She still texts me every now and then, especially when she hears Craig's name on a blacklist somewhere. And every now and then, someone from Jet River reaches out quietly. I should have said something too. I'm sorry I didn't back you. I wish I had your guts. I don't reply. Not to all of them. Just one when it feels right. I write. Craig taught me everything I know. And I let it sit.